Hello and welcome back to the Frugal Granny channel. I'm Ali and I'm Frugal Granny. In this channel I'm basically documenting my life between having left my what I call office or career ladder job in the spring and getting my state pension in July 2027. And in the meantime I'm trying to make the best of what I've got, and this channel is about the challenges I face and how I overcome them. Today is Monday and it's Magazine Monday. For those of you who are new, on Magazine Monday we have a sort of roundup of the practical things I've done during the week. For those of you who are regular viewers, it's lovely to see you again, and I hope you enjoy this Monday's episode. I think it's fair to say now that I've been on my own for the last week. My adult sons have been on their travels, but they're back now. And having been on my own for a week, it's been pretty interesting, especially in contrast to the rather stressful week I had the week before. So, what have I been up to? Well, you saw that I went to IKEA. That was the video I posted on Saturday, and you can see that I made cinnamon buns also. Is it? Yeah, last Monday, for last Magazine Monday. So what else have I been up to? Apart from being on my own last week, I was also off work from the supermarket. So I put together a list of holiday jobs, and these are some of the things that I've been up to. You can see that I've crossed quite a few things off the list, but there are still a few things that I haven't done. And to be honest with you, I've got halfway through some of these things and then suddenly realised, oh my goodness, I should have filmed them. Let's just see, what have we done? I weeded the front garden, and I really don't want to show you that because I like to try and keep the front of my house private. I also cleaned the front door and cleaned the front porch. I also brought in the firewood, which is quite a bit of work. It doesn't look like there's much there, but there is the equivalent of about 8 Hessian bags full. So there's the 4 bags at the front and then another 4 bags full stacked at the back. And then there's also a big tub of wood that I brought in for the Pug Snug wood stove. You won't be able to see it probably, but I also got down on my hands and knees and brushed the stairs. I've got one of those special hair rakes that gets dust and dog hair off the stairs. And so I've been down the stairs on my hands and knees doing that. This is the hair rake. It's quite incredible actually. It gets dog hairs and dust off carpets. I think you need to be quite careful what you use it on in terms of upholstery, but it definitely works very well on a short pile carpet. You can see there that I've taken pots that had the Busy Lizzies in. The Busy Lizzies were taken out a couple of weeks ago, and the trough had nasturtiums in it. I've taken all of those out now, and I've reused the spent compost and planted the spring bulbs that I saved from last spring. Once they'd finished flowering, I put them on one side till the foliage had finished building up nutrients in the bulbs. Then I dried them off. I've had them in the wash house in a plastic tray all summer, and now they're replanted in those 4 pots and that trough. And they're also planted in those 3 pots and that trough there. I've also repotted the rescued hydrangeas that I got from B&Q, or was it Home Base, for about £4. £4. Excuse me, young lady. £4 for 2. So there's that one there as well. And what else have I done? Yeah, while I was out here, I got down on my hands and knees and I have used a knife and cleaned out all the cracks in the path and swept that up. We're not allowed to use pressure washers at the moment due to the drought, and so I've had to go back to hands and knees and a sharp knife. I've also weeded the alpine strawberries that are planted under that fig tree and taken out the weeds that were in there. And I'm just trying to think what else I have done in the back garden. I think that's about it, actually. I thought I'd done more than that, but obviously I haven't. Yeah, I did prune and retrain the Loganberry. I think I mentioned that in my bonus garden tour. One of those branches has come away, so I need to just come back outside and reattach that to the fence, but that's not going to take too long. I've also been through my kitchen cupboards and decluttered a bit. I was going to take the items to the local charity shop, but the bag was a bit heavy and the parking there's not good, so in the end I did what a lot of people do around here. I just arranged it all on my front wall, and the people who were walking past very quickly took the bits that I'd left out there, which is really good. I'm pleased about that. I also cleared my desk. That was one thing I did remember to film, and I've done a little time lapse of that, which I'll just insert here. I was really quite horrified when I started going through the paperwork to realise I hadn't filed anything for about 3 months. And I'm going to try and stay on top of that now, because I just thought, you know, if anything happened to me and my kids were left with that pile of paper, that would be a real hassle for them to know what to do with. I mean, it would be a hassle anyway, even if I had filed everything, but at least it wouldn't be such a big hassle, as everything would then be in the right place. I've also this week managed to stay on top of all of my finances, and I think you will have seen that last Thursday with the supermarket payday catch-up, and a little bit of a chat on Saturday answering a viewer's question about what were my plans once I get the state pension. That actually kicked me into touch a bit and made me start thinking about that classic interview question: where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? So if you want to look at either of those videos, I'll link them up in the top right-hand corner. There were a few things I did have on my list that I've not got round to yet. I still haven't cleaned the bay window in my bedroom and the front room. I still haven't bottled apples. I still haven't taken spare clothes to the hospice shop for sale. I was going to put them on Vinted, but then realised I'd cancelled my Vinted account, and you can't reactivate it if you've done that unless you create a new email address. And to be honest with you, I don't want to be managing a new email address. And people have been so generous to me over the years that I just thought, you know, I'm going to take these bits to the hospice shop, because that's my way of giving back. So I've got a full-length black wool coat that needs to go. That's a size 14. I'm never going to be a size 14 again, even in my dreams. And I think those sea salt maternity dresses that I used to wear to the office, they can also go. I think that's a job for this coming week. The other thing I haven't done is mend a rug. On my kitchen floor, I have 2 durries that are made of woven recycled denim jeans, and one of them, the threads that hold the denim strips together, some of those threads have broken, so I need to stitch that up. I need to do that soon, because those rugs keep my kitchen floor warm in the winter, because I have a stone floor which gets very cold underfoot. And the only other thing I haven't done is paint the skirting boards up the stairs, but at least now I've swept the carpet, I'm in a position to sort of start taping that off, and then I'll paint it. It won't take too long once the tape is on. Now, the other thing I've done over the last week is eat down what's in the fridge. When my youngest son went away, he left a few things in the fridge, and I've been eating those up over the week. And then I've been experimenting with how to feed myself when I'm on my own. And I've done quite well actually this week, but I'm filming this on, I'm filming this on a Wednesday, so you're not actually going to see this for a few days. But one of the things I have made this week to use up some old potatoes and some leeks that were in the freezer and some cold meat is some leek, potato and ham soup. That's boiling away on the stove. It doesn't look terribly appetizing at the moment, but it smells great. And I've got a white baton that I picked up in the supermarket colleague shop. And so I'm going to have sliced white baton and leek and potato and ham soup for my lunch. You may think this is a bit unusual, but if you've got some bread like this that's a little bit hard, just run it under the tap like that, shake it off, and then pop it in the microwave for about a minute, and it'll be nice and soft and good to eat. So here we are. I've just taken it out of the microwave and it's softened up really nicely. I mean, it's a little bit chewy. It's not exactly crunchy on the outside and soft on the inside as if it was fresh, but it's perfectly edible and good for floating in soup. So here we are, potato, leek and ham soup. Basically chicken stock, peel and quarter some potatoes, put them in the stock with a little bit of pepper, a couple of handfuls of chopped leeks, a handful of chopped ham, and then just boil it until it's nice and soft. I don't usually put salt in until afterwards because sometimes the salt and seasonings in the ham will add enough taste to the soup, and so it's best to leave that till the end and adjust it later. I'm just going to put a little bit of parsley in my soup. And a pinch of pepper. And if you want, butter your bread, maybe a swirl of yogurt if you want, but I like mine just like that. Okay, I'm going to show you now how to make cottage cheese or curd cheese. It's very easy. All you need is some whole milk and a little bit of lemon juice. It's that easy. So first of all, I've got some whole milk that was on the yellow label shelf, and I'm just going to pour that into a big pan. So use quite a big pan so that when the milk boils, you've still got room for expansion. You need to really watch this like a hawk. I'm going to put that on to boil, and I'm going to stir it occasionally so it doesn't stick and burn. But as soon as it starts to boil, I'm going to turn it off. While the milk's coming to the boil, I'm going to put together my jelly bag, because we're going to need that to strain the curds away from the whey. So this is a fantastic thing. I think you can get them on Amazon. It's a fold flat jelly bag, which is really good for making what English people call fruit jelly. It's also very good for straining cheese. So you just stand it over a large bowl, and then this is a cheesecloth from Kilner. I think I bought this one in Dunelm. The jelly bag that comes with this set has reinforced holes in the corner, so you can just hook it over here, but this one doesn't. So what I tend to do is I save the rubber bands from when I buy spring onions, and I just pop those, wrap them around my fingers a bit and just pop them over there like that. Well, classically I've had a clear out in my cutlery drawer and I've only got one elastic band. So I'm just going to tie a knot in here and then hook that over there like that. Hopefully that will hold. There we go, it's not brilliant, but it will do. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to boil the kettle. When the kettle's boiled, I'm going to scald the cheesecloth. I rather do it this way. Sometimes I will dunk the cheesecloth in boiling water, but then you end up with burnt fingers when you're trying to attach it to the jelly ring. So these days what I do is I attach the cheesecloth to the jelly ring and then I scald it. I may stand it in the sink to do the scalding so that the hot water doesn't go everywhere. Okay, I'm just going to leave that to drip now until it's time to pour the milk through it. The milk's starting to bubble now, so I'm just going to keep stirring it with my stainless steel spoon so it doesn't catch on the bottom, and then once it boils I will be adding some of the lemon juice from that bottle on the left. I'm going to put a spoonful of lemon juice in here and that should split the milk protein out. If one spoonful won't do it, then I'll add another one. I'm just going to stir that in. Something's starting to happen. I'm just going to put another one in. So it should do it now. Yeah, it's happening now. Can you see it? It's beginning to come out. I think that really is going to have to be enough. There we go, it's really gone now. Yeah, you can see it now. Let me just show you, it's gone now. There you are, you can see the cottage cheese has come out of the milk. So that was 4 pints of milk, and that's taken 3 of those spoons of lemon juice. Okay. I'm going to pour that into the cheesecloth now and let it drain. Whoops, I have not tied that one up again. That came off, didn't it? Let me just tie that on, or else we're going to have a nasty accident. That's it. Right, there's the cottage cheese in there. I'm just going to let that drip and cool off a bit, and then I will put it in a bowl to finish cooling off. And then at that point you can add a little bit of salt, or if you want to mix in some chopped chives or herbs or something, you can. And that will be going in sandwiches for me over the next couple of days. So I'm just going to take the cheese out of the cheesecloth now. And there you have it. This is still quite warm. I didn't want to leave it to drain overnight because I didn't want it totally dry. I'll just break that up a little bit. But I'll leave that to cool now. And that is what homemade cottage cheese looks like. Let me just weigh that and see how much we've got. Well, that's very interesting. 4 pints of whole milk has given me just slightly under 1 pound, 1 imperial pound of cottage cheese. That's about 440 grams of cottage cheese. That's really quite incredible. Let me just look up and see how much cottage cheese costs. 1 minute. Search for cottage cheese. Okay, supermarket natural cottage cheese, £5 per kilogram. So about 400 or 500 grams is going to cost you £2.50. £2.50. The cheap cottage cheese is £2.97 per kilogram. So it just depends which cottage cheese you go for. That one's £6 per kilogram, and that one is £7.20 a kilogram. So I guess like everything, it just depends which brand you buy as to how much it's going to cost. Let me just check how much that milk was. 2 litres of Yo Valley milk. So that was originally, £3, reduced to £1.50. I got myself a bit muddled up here talking to you. So if 400 to 500 grams of the cottage cheese cost me £1.50, then a kilogram would have cost £3. And in actual fact, the cheapest cottage cheese in the supermarket is £2.97 per kilogram. So this homemade cottage cheese came out the same price as the cheapest cottage cheese in the supermarket. But to be honest with you, I think the quality of the homemade cottage cheese is a lot better. So I'm not sure if it's necessarily more economical, but it was certainly a feel-good factor, and the cottage cheese was of a much higher quality. Just for the record, I've added a couple of tablespoons of natural yogurt to my homemade cottage cheese just to give it a little bit more smoothness and cohesiveness, and I've added 2 goodly pinches of salt as well, and that's made all the difference. And I'm really looking forward to having that for my lunch tomorrow on some toast, and I might treat myself to a lovely tomato, a bit of tomato and a sprinkling of cracked black pepper, and that's going to be absolutely delicious. And here is the cottage cheese, which I'm eating on some toasted tomato and oregano bread with some sliced tomato, cracked black pepper, and I've also got a bit of spinach and grated beetroot. So that was a really nice tea this evening. I had that as an evening meal. Well, that's it from me for today. I hope you enjoyed the episode of Monday Magazine, and I'll see you again on Thursday for our weekly financial catch-up. And until then, here are a few little clips of the dogs.